So my bucket is pretty dry. The handles seem to be pretty dry as well. I'm noticing some spots that are showing, but I'm not really worried about those. They're very light. And also because, and this is an option for you, you don't have to do it if you don't want to, but we have on this particular bucket some raised areas. So what I want to do is just take my sandpaper and just very lightly go over them, just to kind of make it look rustic and used. And I'm not doing it everywhere, I'm just kind of picking some places. And essentially what's happening here is I'm taking off some paint, so it's revealing the tub underneath the bucket. And so I'm just doing it in just varied places, and you can also do it on the handles if you'd like. Now, you don't have to do this if you don't want to, I just think it's kind of cute. Alright, so what we're going to do now is stencil what I'm calling a snowflake, but it's not actually a snowflake. I think it's a lotus. But it looks like a snowflake to me, so I'm going to use it, and I love it. That's why. So you'll need your dauber and your alternate paint, whatever that is. And all we're going to do now is just kind of put this in various places. So you can have the option if you want to do a whole design just around the bottom, that's fine, and maybe a design around the top, a smaller stencil, that's fine. I'm just going to put these just kind of in different places around, and I'm going to have maybe 5, I think. So I'm going to go ahead and shake up my paint. I'm going to pour out some so I can use it here. Now, when you stencil, you want to just pick up a little bit and you want to daub off the paint until it's almost dry. Because if you don't do that, what's going to happen is the paint will seep up underneath your stencil. Now, if you're using the stencil for maybe bottom layers and they probably won't show through anyway, I guess that's not a big deal if you want to do that, but these I want to be fairly clear, so I want to be careful with this. So let me see if I can do this. Alright, so I'm going to hold it in the corner so that it stays tight, and I want to make sure that when I daub this on here that this does not lift, so I'm going to have to be very careful, especially not to drop the bucket while I'm doing this, which I'm certainly known for. And then if you get to the edges, like this stencil is pretty close to the edges here, you want to go a little bit more slowly. And then when you get to a point where you think you're just about ready to pick that stencil up, I'm going to urge you to hang on to the stencil. Don't let it go, because if it's not the way you want it to be, you can always continue stenciling. So I'm going to pull that up, and you can see there that it's not completely all the way around. So I'm going to lay it back down. I'm going to apply a little more pressure, add some more paint. So I make sure I get in there. And again, this doesn't have to be perfect because it's a suggestion of a snowflake. We're going to be putting another layer on top here, so I just want a suggestion. So you'll see there. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and come back over here, and I think I'm going to lay it there. Now, because your bucket is round, you may have a little bit of a difficulty ensuring that you have that stencil flat. So just keep working with it and put it in a position where you can work on it. So I'm going to do this sideways. I know you can't see it clearly, but there'll be other ones that you can see. And in this case, let me show you this. There's a ledge here. So you want to make sure that you push even harder on this area. Okay, so here we go. And remember, don't let go of your stencil. Okay, so I have another one there. And then I'll come back over here. Let's see. I think I'm going to do just a partial stencil right here. So you don't have to use the entire stencil in your design. And this actually might be easier to stencil. So I'm just going to go ahead and do this, what essentially is half the stencil. And remember, hang on tight. You've got your bucket wobbling a little bit. You're trying to get to edges here. Here we go. Okay. And then I'm going to come right here and do a stencil. So what I'm trying to do is to not move the stencil, and if I have to pick my finger up because I need to stencil in that area, then I make sure that I move my finger, either the thumb or the finger, over some. There we go. And then I'll do one more. Let's see here. Let me take an inventory here. Yep. So I think I'm going to do maybe just one more here, and I might just do the middle portion of the stencil so that it's a smaller version. So I'm just going to kind of go around this middle portion here, and then remember, hang on to that, double check. Okay, I like that. Now you can put more if you would like. That's perfectly fine. I kind of like that. I'm going to let it dry, but honestly, most of them are already dry. That one I just did, so it needs another minute. This one I can tell has quite a bit of paint on it, so it's going to take a moment to dry. But what I'm going to do is just lay this piece of paper towel on it and just pull off some of that excess so it can dry a little bit better. That one's done. Okay. We're good with that. So now we are at the glitter point. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that upside down for a minute. I'm going to shake this up really well so that hopefully that glitter will distribute evenly. Be very careful when you open this, because this can splatter as well. So I'm just kind of going around and popping the edge of this portion right here a little bit at a time, and it's really becoming loose now, so it'll probably pop in a minute. Notice how I have my hand over it, so if it does pop up, then it just pops up against my hand and it doesn't fly out everywhere. Okay, here we go. Oh, that is really pretty. Look at that. That is so pretty. Okay, so I have a new brush. I rinsed the other one out, but I wanted a dry brush. So we're just going to take this, and again, we're going to do some thin layers. We're not going to do the bottom, at this moment, we're going to go ahead and start with the sides. You can do it whatever way that you would like, but you want to just put a thin layer. Look at that. Look how gorgeous that is. I can see that there are going to be quite a number of projects that are going to get this treatment. So it's just really subtle. Of course, you can add more layers if you would like. And I'm just doing a really thin layer right now. I'm also watching how the glitter glides on there, because if it looks like it's too thick compared to other areas, then I'm going to come back and spread it even further so it's not as thick. I want some thin layers here because I want to be able to see the stenciling that I did. And you know, it's actually enhancing the color of that paint. This is just really pretty, and as I mentioned earlier, there are many other colors. There was a rose gold that I thought was really pretty, but I felt like this iridescent color would be really nice on this project. So I think I'm going to go back and get that rose gold for another project. And again, as you're painting, make sure you smooth everything and that you're checking to see whether or not you've got enough glitter. You don't want it to be overwhelming in one spot and then missing in another. And this seems to be drying pretty fast too. So now you're seeing why it doesn't really matter if you didn't paint the entire piece. This glitter is going to take away from those areas. Be careful on this edge here because you can actually get the paint to where it kind of seeps up in one long line here. Oh, this stuff is really pretty. And go ahead and paint the handle. Don't forget you have a different side here to work with. Now you'll see this painting portion goes a lot faster because we don't have to be as particular about our painting process. We just need to make sure that there are no blobs of this paint. And remember to keep looking at it in the light so that you can see where the glitter is going and where it's not. Like right here, I don't see very much glitter, so I want to go back over and fix that. And again, remember to try to get rid of any lines that you might have, especially here where the metal is bonded together. You know, this would be a really cool idea too if you are a baker and you make cookies or some type of zucchini loaf, banana nut loaf for the holidays. This would be a great way to present someone with that gift. Can put in a cute little piece of tissue paper, holiday tissue paper, and then arrange your cookies or your loaves in here. So I'm almost done. I'm just touching up this last little bit, just making sure that the glitter is all the way to the edge. And then again, get it in the light so that you can see whether or not the glitter is where it needs to be. And if there are any spots where it looks like it came off, just do a little thin layer on top there. Okay, I think that looks good. So now I'm going to set this down very carefully. And I'm going to go ahead and put glitter on the bottom. And I don't think this is going to take long at all. I mean, I can tell that some places are already dried. And again, just kind of go back, make sure that, you know, if anything looks like it's creating a blob or dripping, that you kind of smooth that out. Okay. So now, while that is finishing drying, I'm going to bring our 3 feet back, and I'm gonna glitter on those as well. Not this bottom part that is going to be glued up against the metal, but just this part here that we painted previously. So I would suggest holding top and bottom like this and getting as much of that done as you can. And then when you put it down, you can finish up the top. Plus you're able to roll this around. It's a lot more smooth, I think, if we do it this way. Okay, so I'm going to lay that down and then just barely touch up where my finger was. Okay, same thing here. Hold the top and the bottom. Paint the remainder. And I just have a little spot there that I need to cover, so I'm just going to come back in and just very easily cover it. I didn't grab a whole lot of glitter paint. And our final one. Now once I finish painting these, I'm just going to let the pieces dry for about an hour. I just really want to make sure that they're all dry before we go on. We really only have a tiny bit left to finish this up. But we want to make sure this is completely dry. Okay, that looks so cute. Alright, so once you finish using your glitter, make sure that you do put the top back on and that you do at least hammer it back on so it sticks for the moment. Before you put it away, make sure that you do actually hammer it so that it, excuse me, stays nice and dry. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and clean these off, let these dry for about an hour, and then we will assemble everything. We just have one step really left to do, and that's to glue this on, and then we can decorate. So remember to get your glue ready. Again, clear Gorilla Glue is my suggested glue, but whatever works to make it hold on to metal is just fine. Okay, see you shortly. My bucket is now completely dry, top, bottom, whatever, and I am really loving it. So I think you can see kind of that iridescent look to the bucket, and it's just gorgeous with these stencils. So now what we want to do is to put our feet on the bottom portion. So I used 3. If you want to use 4, that's perfectly all right, but I kind of like the idea of having 3. So this is about where I think I want to have the 3. And you'll just have to adjust to make sure that they are placed equidistant. And I'm just trying to make sure that they are the same distance. So I'm just going to turn them around just to make sure. So essentially what I'm doing is just making sure that I have a nice triangle and that that triangle looks the same when I turn. This bucket. Okay, so now what I want to do is to glue these down. And again, I'm using clear Gorilla Glue. So what I want to do is as I lift, I want to make sure that I put some Gorilla Glue there, just a little bit, and then put just a little bit here on the bottom. And then make sure I place that piece back on there. And I'm just going to hold it for a little bit to make sure that it's not going to slide, because this bucket kind of goes back and forth. In fact, what I think I'm going to do is just to place some things underneath so that the bucket will be a little more situated here. And I'm just kind of watching this to make sure that it's not slipping all over the place. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and work on this one. And then just again, I'm going to kind of make sure these measure out okay. So I'm just kind of watching where I place that, making sure that the bucket is a little more balanced. I think I'm going to exchange this so that we have it. There we go. And then one more. Remember, you don't want a huge glob of glue, otherwise it could start sliding around everywhere. And because these have holes in them, you want to make sure you're getting around the exterior portion too. Okay. So I'm just going to watch it for a few moments, just to make sure that it doesn't slide either way. And then I'll just let it dry. Typically it takes 24 hours to completely cure, but after several hours it already should be adhering to the other surface. I'm trying to see, here we go. Yeah, so it shows that these objects will probably stay together after drying for about 2 hours. So you could potentially, go ahead and begin adding your decorations on the other side. I would advocate for leaving it alone for 24 hours and let it completely dry so that when you add the decorations inside, it won't mess this up. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and let that sit just like that. I'll let it dry overnight and then we'll come back, decorate it very quickly. It won't take us but maybe just a few minutes, about 5 minutes probably, and we'll be done. All right, the legs to our bucket are now dry, so I can go ahead and flip this over so you can get an idea of what this looks like. So now what I'm going to do is just decorate the interior. And you have some options here. Now I'm using a poinsettia. You can of course use any plant that you want if you decide to go with a plant. You can place it directly in the middle and then take the ornaments that you want to use and place them just around the edge if you want. Or like I'm going to do, I'm going to situate it towards one side and then just have all the balls coming, kind of cascading around here. So I'm going to move it so you can see a little bit. And essentially what I want to do is set these so that this portion is down, because I want the color showing and not the tab at the top. Now I've gotten a set that has blue and green. So what I'm going to do first is to put 4 of the blue ones on the bottom. So that it fills up space. And you should be able to see them right there. And then I'm going to bring in the green ones and also add in the blue ones here and there. Because essentially I want the green ones also showing. I don't want them hidden by the blue ones. So I have 12 of these medium-sized balls, and that's exactly what it takes to fit all of these in. And you may have to just adjust a little bit just to get them where you want them and to situate them so that they're fairly flat. So let me show you. If I pull these leaves up, you can see all of the balls there. Okay, and that is exactly how I'm going to end my project. I may add a bow, so that's a consideration that you might want to make as well, to add a bow to this. So I'm just going to kind of turn it a little so you can see those balls inside a little bit better. Now if you want to have smaller balls, of course it's going to take a whole lot more, but that would be a cute idea as well. You don't have to use a poinsettia. You can use any type of flower that you would like. You also can just use greenery in here instead of using the balls and a plant. The only other element that I want to add is this little silver tree that I think is so cute. And I just want it to be right here in the front. So I'm just going to put it just like that. And that's the end of the lesson. I hope that you enjoyed making this Christmas element to share with your family and friends. And I look forward to seeing what you make. Be sure to share with us on our Facebook page. This is Anne Marie Fowler, Creative Director, Mystic Springs Studio. Have a great day.